So I'm excited because I just got a box in that I've been waiting to see what this is. Well, not what it is, but how it is. I'll give you some details in a second. I was kind enough to be gifted to review a quarter cable tool called a Restorer, which I'm super stoked about. Ooh, wow. So it comes with a really dense stainless steel wire wheel, an abrasive wheel. Let's see what else is in here. That's pretty slick. So I'm gonna crack this thing open and kind of get into using it a little bit and see what it's like. Looks like it comes with a carry-all bag, which is nice. Instructions, which no one needs that. Looks like all the wheel attachments are in here, which is fantastic. Ooh, that's nice. And this thing's really cool. And then the actual tool here, oh, that is heavier than I thought. That is way heavier than I thought. That is nice. So it looks like it's got a round rubber platen kind of guy with different speeds, and wow, super easy looking. So I'm guessing this guy comes off here. Yeah. Come on. There we go. Cool, so you can just change out all the different wheels. So let me throw a couple of these on here and we'll give it some testing. All right, so here's everything the box came with. We have the actual Restorer tool. It came with a whole host of kind of wheel attachments. We have a kind of rough Brillo padish wheel. We have a super dense, I'd probably say 2 pound, 2.5 pound wire wheel. Same, quite dense, more aggressive nylon brush wheel. And also a variety of pads of grinding, abrasive, sanding pads. This one's an 80 grit. It also has 2 120s, 2 60s, and also a red and green Scotch-Brite kind of pads to go on there. So a lot to try out and a lot to see what it actually does. We're going to start out testing a few different materials. Move all this stuff around. The corner of my bench is quite busy right now, so please forgive the mess. So I just moved some things along. But we're going to test this out on a few different surfaces, one of which is an old fro for riving and splitting. And so we're going to see how this is quite deep in terms of its corrosion and its texture. So we'll see how some of these pads and things deal with that. We'll see how it deals with a standard saw blade, so plate steel. This is just regular sandpaper on there. So we'll see how it compares. I also have some wooden surfaces. I want to see how it does with a painted surface, this old handle that I don't care about, but also on some shellacked surface. And last but not least, I think I'm going to use it on this piece of cocobolo. This was actually a railroad tie, and so it's been outside and weathered completely for years. The inside of it is obviously dramatically different, polishes up super nice. But we'll see what it does to the outside of it. So let's get into to see how this thing changes all of its wheels. So we'll dig in here to how this thing actually changes out its wheels and functions. Like I said, it's quite beefy. It has 2 latches here. Really simple and self-explanatory. Latches come off. This actually pulls up and hinges off. The shaft here, your wheel comes off, and so you can actually change them out this way. So the one I think I'm most curious about is not the sleeves or the sanding discs, and we'll get to those in a second, But I'm more interested in these kind of aggressive ones, these Brillo padish ones, some shavings on there. Yeah, we'll see what these things do. So I'm going to try out this one on a few varying materials, and we'll see how it goes. So obvious orientation here, clicks on. So we're going to put the top back on. And I'll be wearing proper safety equipment in terms of hearing protection and eye protection. But I have no idea how loud this thing is, which I'm super curious about as well. So we'll see. So let me clamp up some material, and we'll see how this one works out. Okay, so I have a few things lined up with this aggressive wheel. We have our old fro with the texture, a smooth plate steel. So let's see how this thing goes on. Looks like it has a variable speed, so it's on max. I'm going to lower that down just to see how it does. Nice work. Now it's also abrading the metal because I know this is too abrasive for this plate. But let's try it on this this fro and we'll see how it goes. We'll turn up a little higher. Now, what I also didn't mention about these is one, it has a dust collection port that I'm not utilizing right now. Probably should. And then we also have, let me get a paper towel. You can already see some of that external rust kind of polishing off. So it looks pretty good for that wheel. Interesting. I wouldn't use it on this blade. Obviously, it's too aggressive, so you can actually see how it's marring into the softer steel up here. But let's change out the wheel and see what else we can do with it. So I've changed out the wheel for a 120 grit nylon abrasive wheel instead of whatever this Brillo pad one is. I don't know what that's made out of. Yeah. But this one, we'll see how it does because it should be a softer feel to these materials. And then we'll try it on a piece of painted wood real fast and the Cocobolo. Very interesting. So on this painted wood, it actually just started taking off the grime, but not the paint yet because it's not aggressive enough. But this is really interesting. So it actually started taking off the rust, but not degrading or polishing the metal. So it's going down to the raw steel here. And you can obviously see it in this one, at least I can here from my perspective. I have a band here where I did it with the rougher one. And then this band here was done with this nylon one. So it is removing the rust, but not getting down to new metal. Not yet. But it's working slower, which is nice to have the availability to work with more detail and more precision. So let's try it out on some other wheels on some other materials. Now, outside of being a sander, basically, on steroids here, I'm really curious about this wire wheel that I just changed it to. I don't know if anybody else has had the experience with a wire wheel where if you use it on an angle grinder or anything else, you'll feel these little wires shoot out every now and then. I don't use one too often because it's on a bench grinder, but because this is portable, I feel like this has great potential. So we'll see how this thing runs on some of our materials and see how aggressive it is. The nice thing I'm assuming is with the variable speed control here, I'll be able to not have it freak out and damage anything. So we'll see how it goes. We'll start slow. Now, I think that's a new experience for me. One, that I feel comfortable enough with that tool in terms of its weight, balance, and safety that I can just kind of move it around with both my hands. I don't have to have the material actually clamped in. I was nervous about doing it on the plate without clamping it down because I thought it might shoot around like a belt sander or something. But no, it doesn't, and so that's really nice. And it is moving really well. It's slow. Like I said, I think this is better. It's actually controlled for this wire wheel. So it's getting off all the rust. It's starting to get down to metal. But it's not leaving that kind of gross, too abraded surface where you're actually getting new metal. That's really nice. So let's try it on a few other things. And I gotta say, I really enjoy this quick, not to say quick release. See if I can get it in frame. It's just those two little snaps and that kind of pull up and over, and you can change this wheel out for anything. So we're going to try, what should we try next? Well, hold on. Let me go back to this nylon brush, or this aggressive one, and we'll try it on the Cocobolo. We'll go with this one. Yeah. And it's got arrows for us people that are technically challenged with messing up tools. All right, let's see how it runs. So here's our Cocobolo, the outside, the raw side, versus the fresher inside. Interesting. So it is taking off some of the age. But yeah, it's not really sanding it or anything. I'm surprised. So let's try the other ones. Now I feel like this one is soft enough. It's not really going to take off too much material, but you can already see here where it's cleaning up kind of that age, the gray, the sun damage, and water damage that was on here. Now it says you can use the wire wheel on wood. I've never really done that until today, so let's try it out. So here's our wire wheel on the Cocobolo. Oh yeah. So I can instantly feel that wire wheel kind of digging into the sapwood, but also kind of like I said, removing. You can see the color difference between these two areas here, where it's taking off all the bad stuff, revealing all the good stuff. So let's try some sanding discs real fast. Now, on these materials, I don't want to go super heavy and hard. So let me start out, instead of the 60 disc, the 60 grit, I'm going to start with the 120, which is the finest paper that it comes with. so we can see how easy this is. Oh, that's not bad. Okay. Okay, now that is awesome. That took a super light pass and had a lot of control over what areas got removed. So the paint, the wood, but mainly that is really, really exciting. I don't know if you guys can see. So it is not damaging the wood in any capacity, and it's a very, very easily controllable pass. So I don't know if I can get that tight curve. Can't get the tight curves here, the horn, but let's see if we can get some more up here. Okay, so for a lot of what I do, I know this is meant to remove material, to not to say restore, but restore materials back to their original composition, so taking off rust, grime, etc. But man, I'm going to use that as a shaper, I think, more than almost anything. Removing the material is great, but having this small radius, and being handheld has a great availability to or opportunity to work into some interesting areas for shaping things. So refurnishing a piece of furniture, getting around tight areas or underneath an apron or a skirt or a tabletop, this would be fantastic. So let me try some of these the Scotch-Brite wheels, and we'll see if we can polish something up. That's a lot harder to get out than it is in. There's probably some trick because I didn't read the manual. Goodness. Oh. Man. There we go. So far, that's the only real downfall or problem that I found is getting that thing off. On is easy. Just like that. But off, not so much. So let's see how this thing fares on there. Okay. So really quickly, I think by far that is one of the best wheels that comes on it. One, fast rust removal, and if you push hard, which you shouldn't, but if you put a little pressure, you can get it to get new metal. But it's getting off all the rust. It peeled all the paint, but didn't touch the wood like you would assume a sanding disc would. So that's really quite nice. So you can strip anything off with that. Let's switch to the blue disc to finish up. I knew this would be the issue. So getting this off is actually quite difficult. Probably wouldn't use a file in any capacity, but this is what I'm going to do just to get it off quickly. There we go. So let's get our blue one on. Making sure that it's centered up so it doesn't ride uneven. Yeah. So let's see how this one does. Now let's check out the grime on this one. I normally wouldn't take the age off of a handle. But let's see what this one does. So I have to say, I'm quite impressed. Okay, so to wrap up, I would say I'm quite impressed, Porter Cable, for what you've made here. Really unique tool in its size and portability. And also effectiveness. So I mean that hits a lot of good markers there. It's easily balanced. It's very nicely weighted. The changing off is a little tough, but the changing on, really simple. Nice features with the variable speed. I really enjoy that. And the dust collection, which I'll be using for sure. But it speaks for itself in terms of the results, I think. If you guys can see some of the varying availabilities to get rid of the rust, and the age, and at your own control. So I was able to get down to straight to bare metal, or leave the age on the metal, but just remove the rust. On the wooden pieces, it was quite nice because I could remove all the way down to bare wood with the sandpapers, or the different pads, just to remove the paint and not the age. I think these little Brillo pad, I don't know what they are, these things are fantastic. There's a red and a blue one. The red is the more aggressive, the blue is the finer. You can see right here on the blue one, it took it down layer by layer of finish on this saw handle. So it was able to take away some of the age, but not 100% of the patina, and not get down to bare wood. So that's pretty great to get some varying degrees of control using this tool. So I think I'll be using this quite a bit. Really good stuff. So I hope you enjoyed the review. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And make sure you go out and check out the Porter Cable Restorer. Good tool to have in your shop, an arsenal.